All right, Buck fans, welcome to our week number 9 edition of the No Quarter Given podcast. I'm your host, Jason. Peter Blake, another losing edition, a Thursday night Amazon losing edition of the podcast that we're going to
I feel like a loser. Every time I get on here, you always say a winning edition. Now it's been losing editions for 3 straight games. I mean, can we snap out of this?
5 out of 6.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Bucs go down 27-22 at home Thursday night. We're going to break down the ins and outs of the game. Paul Stewart will be aboard here in about the midway point of the podcast to give you our Rams historical montage that the Rams are the next opponent, and then we'll give you a little Rams preview there at the end. But podcast is presented by Beef O'Brady's in Tampa over on the corner of Bush Boulevard and Himes Avenue. Peter and I were at Beef O'Brady's last Thursday night for a little pregame, a little halftime episode. Had a good time over there, had a decent crowd over there, so we had a good time. Peter had us out on the deck in the mosquitoes, but he give all credit to Peter. Did a great job with the setup, and hopefully Buck fans, you got to watch a little bit of our pregame and halftime show where we talked about the game and all. All right, Peter, give me your opening thoughts on 27-22 loss against Baltimore.
I mean, you dominate the first quarter. You finally score a touchdown. That's amazing because they're the only team in the National Football League that hasn't scored a touchdown. And then basically after that, you kind of said, you know what, we're just going to kind of go home, or we're going to call it a night. We're going to let the Ravens run roughshod all over us. Over 200 rushing yards. The offense, once again, can't score. Tom Brady seems like he's off. The line was a little bit better, if you will. And then on top of it, the running game non-existent, but the most disappointing aspect of it, not only your defense giving up over 200 rushing yards, but also you lose Shaq Barrett for the year.
Yeah, you lose Shaq Barrett. Obviously, the Buccaneers were a little depleted in the secondary. No Winfield, no Carlton Davis. That showed its ugly head there late in the game. I think depth-wise, it was a struggle. You saw the Bucs wilt. I mean, I hate to say it, they physically wilted in the second half. But what was weird was Baltimore came out and threw it 30 times in the first half, 30 attempts. In the second half, it was almost complete reversal. They probably ran it 30 times in the second half, and you really saw the Bucs struggling late in the third quarter, fourth quarter with the running game, and like they were fatigued. And you're right, part of it's the offense not being able to stay on the field, sustain drives. 2, again, you had some secondary depths, and 3, just the Buccaneer defense is just getting run on way too much.
Yeah, guys just trying to play hero ball, not being in their run gaps, not, having their run fits at the end of the day. Devin White, supposedly a leader or captain of this team, not showing up, lack of effort. Levante David. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's not like, this defense doesn't have talent. They have all the talent in the world. And yet you go out every week, and I get it, your offense is not able to have consistent drives to your 3 and out. So where's at your defense? But your defense has to make some plays. They have to cause turnovers. They have to stop the run game. And we knew the challenge coming in, Jason Powers, that this Ravens team was going to run the ball. Lamar Jackson is not going to beat you with his arm. He's going to beat you with his legs. The Ravens are going to beat you with the running game, and they did last Thursday night.
And the interesting part was first half, the Bucs were pretty good in the pass rush. He didn't get loose in the first half. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks in the first half of Lamar. The Ravens went for it when they probably should have kicked a field goal late deep in Buccaneer territory. So the Bucs get out of the half. They're up 10-3 at the half. Many Buck fans probably think we probably should have been up 14 or 17, probably left some points on the field, but the Buccaneers had the lead at the half.
Yeah, they had the lead at the half. And once again, you left points on the board because you can't score in the red zone for some reason. You break down, you have critical penalties. Donovan Smith, I'm talking to you. Later on in the second half, not only had Donovan Smith, but you also had Robert Hansey. Not able to get off a snap count. I mean, we're talking about week 8, and you're already having these type of penalties still going on. So it doesn't make any sense. It's on coaching. It's on Tom Brady. It's on the defense. It's on the players, and somebody has to step up because you have a must-win game versus the LA Rams coming to town on Sunday.
Brady missed I won't say wide open, but he was pretty open. Kyle Rudolph on a crossing route in the end zone would have been a sure touchdown. Yeah. He overthrew Evans. They ended up scoring, but he overthrew Evans in the back of the end zone. Critical, again, penalty on Donovan Smith, which, if he doesn't hold, Brady probably gets sacked. So I can't kill him for that. But point is, just here. It's the untimely penalties. It's not
the
when it's
critical penalties at the critical times.
Yes.
It's like the self-destruct Bucs of the 80s and 90s. I hate to go back there, but how can you explain this? You keep on settling for field goals instead of getting touchdowns. What happened to this offense? They were scoring 31, 32 points a game.
Yep.
This time last year, you're scoring 16 to 20. It ain't going to get it done. And you continue to do the same thing over and over again. And you wonder why you're 3-5.
No, you're right. A little bit more creative in the play calling. I'll give Byron a little bit of credit. The one thing I would question though severely, the one time we see Julio Jones early in that game, we run him on a speed sweep on 3rd and 2. I mean, no offense to Julio, but you're not the guy I want to be running a speed sweep to 3rd and 2. He runs it, they lose yards, they punt, and he walks off the field looking at his knee and grimacing.
He caught a touchdown later on.
Well,
time. I mean, but you're exactly right. I mean, it's the play calling, and you've got this personnel, Leonard Fournette. It goes back to 2 weeks ago. You got a 4th and 1. You're running him outside instead of having a Rashard White. It makes no sense at all. It's like elementary coaching for idiots.
And I would even say, even when Julio caught the touchdown late in the game, I didn't like that decision to go. They're down 11. It's 4th and goal from the 8. Kick the field goal, stay in the game. I mean, they scored. It's okay. They scored, but even on that play, it was a 5-yard pass, and Julio had to run the last 4 yards into the end zone. Didn't throw it in the end zone. I didn't like the decision to go for the touchdown there on 4th and goal when you're still in the game down 11.
And is this on Byron Leftwich? Is this on?
Well, that's Todd. That's Todd Bowles' call to go for
it. Well,
I didn't like that one bit.
But it's also Tom Brady supposedly running the offense at the end of the day, right?
I don't know if he is running the offense. I don't know if he's got as much control as we think he has. Because to me, I don't see a whole lot of the Tom Brady control of this offense. Again, no up tempo. We didn't see an up tempo offense. Maybe that's to help save the defense. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to protect the defense. I don't know, but still haven't seen an up tempo offense to get maybe to spark things a little bit in the offensive side of the rhythm.
Well, we saw in the first quarter, we saw urgency, and we didn't see that the rest of the game. And that's the disappointing aspect. And again, it's a direct reflection of leadership at the end of the day. We heard from Todd Bowles in that press conference that everything would be on the table. What kind of changes? We haven't heard anything yet. But
you're not going to hear about it till later in the week, I don't think.
Right.
I think if you hear something about personnel changes, that's going to be Thursday, Friday when they start practicing, when the reporters are there. They're going to get the tip of, hey, so-and-so's in the lineup, so-and-so's not. What'd you think of Nick Leverett stepping in for Gedeke at guard?
A lot better. I mean, you didn't see a lot of pressure, did you? I mean, most of those sacks that happened, and were 3 sacks. Justin Houston had 2 of them. Were coverage sacks. And I tell you right now, one of those that we talked about in the halftime show was, if Brady waits maybe 1 or 2 more seconds, he has Chris Godwin on the sideline. Instead, he eats the sack.
Right.
That's where Brady at this juncture, and physically, I still think he has it, but mentally, it's in the back of his mind where that pressure has gotten to him. That's what you have to worry about, because it alleviates those plays that you can make if you wait 1 or 2 more seconds. Maybe you have a big play for Chris Godwin. Instead, you have a sack. And, by the way, a dubious record that Tom Brady set. The most sacked quarterback in NFL history. Of course, that's going to come with that because he's played, 23 years now. So
interesting announcement on Friday, the day after the Thursday night game, leading into a long weekend. Brady announces officially his divorce from Giselle. They make that official. You wonder how much of that, to me, this might be a moment now that he's free of this. It's all public now. We all know it's a finality. Maybe this frees up Tom Brady the last 8-9 weeks of the season, that his mind's a little freer than it maybe was. He knows it's over now. It's been announced. It's public. So there's no more being secretive about it. Maybe this frees him up a little bit mentally and plays a little more free.
Yeah, he's Tom Brady. I mean, get mad. Where's the psycho Tom at? I want him to yell at offensive linemen. I want him to yell at coaches. I want him to yell at wide receivers. Where's that psycho Tom? That's the kind of fire you need right now. And I get it. He's going through a divorce. I mean, it seemed like everything happened after the loss. You lose to the Ravens the next day. The divorce is announced. Then Shaq Barrett. I mean, well, what's next? Was stigmata? I mean, you got everybody on the team that has COVID at this point. I mean, being a Bucs fan right now, it's tough to have a Bucs life. So
Well,
hopefully you get some good news. You're exactly right. He talked about it on his Let's Go podcast tonight, how he's going to focus on his kids and he's going to focus on winning games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So hopefully he can do that. But I've never been through a divorce before. I don't know how it is, but you're talking about life instead
stress.
of
It's
right.
got to be stressful. I mean,
Gotta be stressful.
No doubt.
We're a bunch of bachelors here. We never been married. We're not married to a supermodel. We're doing a podcast, a No Quarter Given podcast for Buck Power TV.com, buckpower.com for all your Buccaneer needs. So we haven't been through that. So, and I can't imagine playing football. Just imagine doing a daily job and going through that and, having the possibility of not only losing somebody that you truly love, but also possibly not being able to see your kids as much. So definitely tough. And we'll see how, Brady's able to navigate through that and how this team, hopefully they come together, because what we heard after the game was he was beside himself. He was sitting in the locker. He didn't take his helmet. He
was
didn't
distraught.
Take his
Was distraught. Like,
he's never been through this before. A 3-game losing streak had to go all the way back to 20 years for this to happen. Congratulations to this team for having that. And again, it's on Brady, but it's also the players around him. It's the coaching around him. It's got to get better, and hopefully it did.
The great thing is you got 9 more games still. You're only at the halfway point. The division is still very much in reach. You're 1 game behind the Falcons. Again, that the winner of this division is probably going to win 9 games. I hate to say it, 9 or 10 games at most. No. So you don't have to, if you're the Bucs, forget about being elite as far as the 12-4, you're not going to be 12-5. You're probably going to be a 10-7, 9-8 kind of team. And this year, that's going to be good enough. Your goal, if you're the Buccaneers, is to incrementally get a little better, stay in the division race. You're going to be the 4 seed. Almost certain you're going to be the 4 seed in the NFC, which I guess what? We did it before 2 years ago in 2020. We're a wild card. Sure. You're going to get 1 home game. You can do that. Now, if you're the Buccaneers, you got to clean out all the crap that you've dealt with the last 8 weeks. It's a new season. It's a 1 game. You're 1 game behind the standings. Who gives a damn what your record is right now? The goal is to play better and execute better.
Yeah, and win games, and nothing's going to be easy, because we thought, the last 2 weeks here with the Steelers, the Panthers, those would be easy. You got to play 60 minutes of football. You have the Rams coming up, then you have to go over the Germany, and then after that, you got a bye week. So you've got to, put all these losses aside. You got to put them in the back of your mind, and you got to start playing winning football. And it comes down to the devil in the details. It's all about the details for this team. They've got to do the little things. They got to do the big things. And they got to get it right, and they got to get it right quick, because you've got a Rams team that is also struggling, that is giving the Bucs everything they can handle. I don't have to talk about how much I despise the LA Rams and their
hold your venom. We're going to get to the Rams in a little bit. Hold on. Yeah. Here's a couple more comments on the Raven game, and then we'll get to Paul Stewart in the montage.
Yeah.
I want to see what Todd Bowles said changes. You've had a long, basically a mini bye with your coaching staff. I guarantee you they were probably there most of the weekend. I want to see from an X's and O's perspective, whether it's offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game, because we had another kicking issue with the return issue. I want to see some changes. Again, does it have to be wholesale? No, but I want to see some schematic changes. Maybe this makes the Buccaneers more of a blitzing team with no Shaq Barrett now, knowing you need to generate pressure. Maybe this turns Todd Bowles loose. He's known as a blitzer. Maybe this unleashes some of the thought and creative minds in his mind to, hey, let's go. Let's blitz. We're going to be aggressive. Let's get blitzing and let's get going. Maybe you get some healthy guys back. Maybe Davis is back this week. Winfield should be back this week. We need Akeem Hicks back. He's got to be pretty close. So, obviously, you lose Shaq Barrett. I get it. Devin White. Warren Sapp, very critical of Devin White over the weekend with his lack of effort. And you saw many different glimpses in that game where the effort was not great out of Devin White.
Look bored. I mean, he talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I was bored. The defense is bored. He looks like that. And it's a bad optic when he's saying that. And then you see it on film. And then you have a defense that's basically gouged for over 200 rushing yards. It's not going to get it done. If your staple of your defense is to stop the running game and you're letting teams run all over you for over 150 yards a game, again, that defense is a shadow of itself from the Super Bowl year. So whether you have Akeem Hicks or you don't, whether you have Shaq Barrett or you don't, you have to get it done somehow. And it comes down to doing your job. It's just that simple, Jason Powers.
And one good thing I did like seeing out of Todd Bowles, you saw him scold Devin White a couple times coming off the field. He wasn't. I mean, he lit into Devin White a couple times when Devin came off the field after a couple of those long drives. And Bowles is a prideful defensive coordinator. He's not going to allow these guys just to half-ass it. And I applaud Todd Bowles for that, because that was good to see on TV that Todd Bowles lit into some of those guys on defense.
Yeah, he needs to light into them. And does this seem like a guy that wants to make $100 million? Because all we've heard from Devin White ever since he's came out of college, he wants to be the first $100 million linebacker. He's not playing like it.
Nope.
He's up for free agency. And the way
he's not up. He's not up. He can play out his fifth-year option next year.
Option. Well, that's
the Bucs will pick that up for sure. But if I'm the Bucs, I'm not giving him an extension based on his play this year. I'm making him play it out next year, kind of like what the Bears did to Roquan Smith, who they've just now shipped to the Baltimore Ravens, who I think that's a great move for the Ravens. They're not going to do that, but I think you got to make Devin White plays better when he's hungry, when there's the hunger of what's out there.
Well, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, why not try to dive into that trading market, right? I mean, because the trading deadline is on Tuesday. You have an opportunity. You may have to give up the future, but the future is now. Right?
I'm not selling the farm. I'm not giving up first and second round draft picks for a rental player. Now, if it's a young impact player, maybe, but I'm not giving up.
Bradley Chubb.
I don't know. There ain't a lot of guys out there to help the Buccaneers. I mean, let's be truthful. There's not a lot.
You a first round pick for Bradley Chubb? What you think for JTS?
But you got to sign Bradley Chubb too. He's a free agent. Well, I'm not giving Bradley Chubb. I'm not giving up a number one unless I have a deal, unless I have a long-term deal in place for Bradley Chubb. Now I would do it if you had a long-term deal.
Right.
I would do it because, again, this could be the end of Shaq Barrett as a Buccaneer.
Well, it could be in the end of Shaq Barrett because he has a big time contract. But on top of it, you see Levante David, he's getting up there in age.
This will probably be,
Right. Why not kick the tires on a Roquan Smith? I mean, if you only have to give up a second or a fifth round, I get it, the contract value, but he's still young. He can play. He leads the NFL in tackles. I cannot believe the Bears only got a second or a fifth. Could you imagine Roquan Smith on this team? And for me, my thought process is because White is so terrible when it comes to coverage and just freelancing. Why not make White a pass rushing specialist, if you will, linebacker?
That's not his thing.
Roquan Smith to the middle. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm suggesting things because at the end of the day, it's not working. We're still talking about Devin White to this day, not able to cover, not able to tackle consistently, out of place. There's a problem with that. That guy is not consistent. He has to get better if he wants to be, upper echelon, if you will. If he wants to make $100 million,
ain't nobody paying Devin White $100 million right now.
He's the captain of your team.
I agree with that.
More progression than this. We're talking about the same type of things we've talked about the last couple of years.
What captains do. Captains don't always play great. Again, we're not asking you to play great every single game, but what captains do is don't show the lack of effort that he's showing. That is clear. Imagine
Derek Brooks showing that lack of effort?
And I know he was tired, and I'll give him that he was gassed in the fourth quarter. I get it, but there were some plays earlier in that game where the effort level was just not great. He was just getting destroyed by offensive linemen. Pushed back 10, 12, 14 yards into the backfield in the secondary on a run. That's the kind of stuff you have to have better of. And again, I'm not blaming it all on him. Vita Vea's got to play better too. I've not seen Vita Vea much in the stat sheet or, one sack, whoop-de-doo. I need to see Vita Vea shut down the middle in that running game.
And I tell you right now, what we've learned, Ndamukong Suh is a major part of this run defense and a major part of this defensive line and a major part of this locker room because at the end of the day, you don't have that accountability, I don't think, in these first 8 games. And the reason why I say that is because if you saw Devin White loafing around, do you think Ndamukong Suh would stand for that? Do you think Gronk would stand for that? I mean, that's the type of leadership you're missing off of this team. And we kind of said, well, Hakeem Hicks, younger guy, if he could stay healthy, he's an upgrade. He's not. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah, he's younger, but he's not on the field at this point, and it's hurting this team. You don't have a tight end. You have Cade Otton showing flashes of brilliance. Kyle Rudolph has been a man on a milk carton. Of course, Tom missed him for a touchdown. That was Tom's fault, but he's been disappointing. So we talked about it, and it's the shuffling of the offensive line. But at the end of the day, it's about accountability. And we talk about it. Warren Sapp was ripping into him. And Warren Sapp's day, if Derek Brooks ever did that, you would see Sapp on Brooks, Brooks on Sapp.
Yep.
You would see Lynch. You would have Barber. Leadership in that locker room also has to step up.
I promise you, it was a very direct meeting on whether it was Friday or today that they looked. I'm sure they probably looked at the film, whether it was very direct. I'm with Todd Bowles in that defense. There was probably no punches pulled. There, I guarantee you, the lack of effort plays by whoever on defense was pointed out. That I can promise you, because we've not seen that kind of lack of effort from a Buccaneer defense in quite a while with this group of guys.
And the most disappointing aspect is Todd Bowles is a defensive-minded coach. You know that he takes pride in this defense, and with his defense suffering the way it is, you almost feel like he's going to pull Lovie Smith and say, you know what? I'm going to start making the calls again. Not that we know if he's making them or not, but maybe he's not. Maybe he takes control of it.
That may be the changes.
The mindset of him compared to BA. BA is an offensive-minded coach. He's aggressive. Todd Bowles is conservative. He's defensive. He wants to win games close. It's not going to work with this team if you're giving up yards on the ground. It's not going to work with this team if you're not getting turnovers in the defensive ball game. And it's not going to work with this team if you continue to suffer in the red zone. So again, it goes back to coaching for me, and it's all about philosophy. And I'm telling you right now, if BA's in that building and I'm the Glazers, I'm going to ask BA, hey, can you be more than a consultant at this point? Because the guys are letting us down. I'm sorry. If this is unfinished business and this is the last hurrah of Tom Brady, you got to go through drastic measures. You got to go through some drastic changes. And if it means swallowing your pride and saying, look, Tom Brady, you're going to have to.
We need help. We need help.
We got to work together. We got to make this happen. We made it happen before. Let's make it happen again. If that's what you got to do, and you got to hurt people's feelings, so be it.
Right. No, you're right. There's some truth to that. There's again, I guarantee this was a very hard weekend at One Buck Place for the coaching staff in that front office, doing some personal looking in the mirror and being as open as I guarantee you there was some open dialogue amongst that coaching staff and Jason Light about guys, performance, playing time. Maybe you see Rashad White get more snaps than Leonard Fournette in the next. We saw what happened in Dallas, a burst of energy with Tony Pollard. Even though Zeke was hurt, Tony Pollard showed the young legs made a big difference in Dallas, and maybe you give Rashad White a little more of the action earlier in the game than you do Leonard Fournette and maybe you have Lenny be the third down guy, the pass protection guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I tell you right now, you can't do any worse than White at this point because he gives you.
You got nobody else. That's who you got.
Leonard Fournette.
That's who you got.
Clouds and 2 yards in a cloud of dust at the end of the day. He's not getting it done. And you have one of the worst rushing attacks in the National Football League.
We got Peter's girls are running loose.
I'm telling you, I've got
Miss Elizabeth running wild back there.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Miss Elizabeth and Medusa, and we have Baby Doll with the Nature Boy back in the day and the Four Horsemen.
I'm telling you, I got company right now. I'm doing this podcast as we speak, and they're looking at me like I'm a crazy man because I'm on fire tonight. It's been hard for people like myself and you. We're Bucs fans, but we're also sports broadcasters, and we have to do our shows, and we basically have
to be honest.
We have to calm them down because they're ready to jump off the Skyway Bridge, and we have to be honest. This team is 3-5. They're not the team we thought they were.
Nope.
They're playing like a team.
There's still time, though. There's still time. The beautiful thing is there's time, and we're in a bad division this year. Luck, call it luck, call it whatever you want to call it. If we were in the NFC East, we'd be in big trouble, but we're not. We're in the NFC South, and this is the time to take advantage of it. You've not played very well for 8 weeks. You're in a bad division. Now's your time to reset and take advantage of not being in a very good division and to really put your foot down and go forward. All right, we're going to come back with the Rams preview in just a few minutes. First off, Paul Stewart, BuckPower.com. He's going to do his montage on the Tampa Bay Bucs and the Rams rivalry. We had some classic matchups back in the 70s and 80s with the Rams, playoff matchups, Monday night thrillers with the Rams in the early 2000s. Obviously, the playoff last year with the dramatic finish in the divisional round. Paul's going to review all the Rams history with you, the Buck fans, on his weekly montage. Remember, you can go to Buck Power TV on YouTube and see all of his video montages from all weeks that we've already discussed, from week 1 all the way through now in the LA Rams. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Paul Stewart, buckpower.com, Buck Power TV YouTube channel, Bucs Rams montage. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, Buck fans, welcome back. No Quarter Given podcast. I'm Jason along with Peter Blake. We broke down Baltimore, the loss to go to 3-5. You just heard Paul Stewart's great montage of the Bucs Rams history. Now we're on to present day, Sunday, 4:25. It's a CBS flex game, not Fox, CBS. So I think we're going to probably have Romo and Nance in the building. Your boy Jason will be in the building up in the press box. I'm going to be working for Rams Radio, helping out the Rams Radio broadcast.
Are you trying to sabotage them? I mean, is this the plan? Because this is a great plan if you're trying to do this.
I mean, I'm going to be working with your boy Maurice Jones-Drew and JB Long on the Rams Radio broadcast, helping them in the booth. I'm going to go probably try to shake hands with Romo and Nance during the food line.
Listen to you, superstar.
I'm going to keep JP Peterson away from the prime rib, Ira away from the macaroni and cheese and the cookies.
You got lots of jobs to do, my friend. You're selling hot dogs out in the parking lot too, aren't you?
Man. I'm going to change the mojo. I'm going to enter the building.
Please.
That's going to change the mojo for Sunday afternoon.
Get me over there so I can come with you and change the mojo on that. Oh my gosh, we need to get over there.
I mean,
together, tag team partners of the world.
I hear you. If I can get another pass, I would. I've actually efforted, so I've put a request in with the Rams team. So we'll see what happens. If I can get an extra pass, you're the guy. You'll be the first call I make.
All right. Sounds good. We'll try to curse the Rams together.
All right. Let's talk Bucs Rams.
Yes.
The Rams coming in struggling just as much as we are. Who would have thought 3 months ago, going into week 9, that the loser of Bucs Rams would be 3-6 in the NFC? Wow.
Not me. I mean, but it comes back to offensive line, right? And they lose Whitworth to Amazon Prime, and we didn't know how big of a loss that was. That's a big time loss. Of course, they lose.
Their offensive line is terrible.
It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. I don't know what's worse of an offensive line. It's probably the Rams over the Bucs at this juncture with all the moves the Bucs have made. So Stafford, not the same player he was last year because he's feeling pressure. Maybe it's age. On top of it, Cooper Kupp seems like he's a little bit banged up, but we all know as Bucs fans out there, Kupp is a buck killer. So we'll see if he gets his or not. And then the other player on that team that's been disappointing, Allen Robinson, and they don't have a running game. In fact, this is a matchup of two of the worst teams in the National Football League when it comes to running the ball. So kids, if you like passing the ball, this would be the game to watch on Sunday.
And again, this is where, again, if you're the Buccaneers, you have to exploit this offensive line issue for the Rams. Yep. They should not be able to run the ball on us. Their running back situation's in disarray. Cam Akers, not in the mix anymore. Darrell Henderson, They're using another guy, Rivers. Their running game is terrible because their offensive line plays bad. Don't stop me peeking at the girls over there. I see
I'm telling you, they're trying to distract me. They're doing it on purpose. It's so funny. It is so funny they try to do this when I'm okay.
Did you hand out candy? We're recording this on Halloween night. Did you have some people coming over for Halloween? Did you hand out the candy to the kids?
I'm handing out candy. I'm handing out Wi-Fi passwords and everything else. So you guys are gonna have to wait a moment. All right, I'm doing my thing. Stand by.
All right.
Yes.
Offensively for the Bucs, the Rams, for whatever reason, Raheem Morris and company have given the Bucs all kind of problems defensively. Whether it's knowing the route combinations, they have just done a really good job defending the Buccaneers. Obviously, the Bucs were down 27-3 last year in the playoff game. We got manhandled in the regular season by the Rams defense. What about Raheem Morris? And, obviously you got Aaron Donald, but you got to control Aaron Donald because he's going to be trying to go after Leverett and Shaq Mason and Hainsey in that guard-center guard combination. You can't let Aaron Donald wreck the game on defense.
Yeah, and that's the biggest matchup for me, especially with this offensive line struggles, especially the interior offensive line versus Aaron Donald. If you can slow him down, then I think you definitely got a chance. But also you go to the other level, Jalen Ramsey versus Mike Evans. Evans burning him on a touchdown last year, but he's definitely given this Buck wide receiving core. So can you see Chris Godwin step up this week? He looks like he's getting healthy. He's not fully 100%. I don't think he's going to be for the whole year. Maybe next year he'll be. Those are the type of guys that have to step up. Who's your third wide receiver? Will it be Julio? Will it be Scotty Miller? They re-signed Tyler Johnson.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
Practice squad. Is he a guy that's going to come in? Brashard Perryman? Is he a guy that's going to step out? So we'll see. Gage, I don't know if he's healthy or not. So they got some problems there. The Rams still have some talent, and their starts, of course, with Aaron Donald and, of course, Jalen Ramsey in that secondary.
And here's the interesting thing about these next 2 weeks if you're the Buccaneers. Rams, Seahawks, they're NFC games, tiebreaker kind of games when it comes to if the Bucs happen to not win a division and there may be a 9-8 wild card possibility. These two games are huge from a divisional perspective to get back in the division race. But if you're not in the division race, these are the tiebreaker kind of games where if you and the Rams or you and the Seahawks end up with the same record, the first tiebreaker is head to head. So NFC games are critical here these next 2 weeks.
And who would have thought not only the Seahawks would actually be a better matchup than the Rams, but still, I'm not taking the Rams for granted. We already did that and found out. They need a win as bad as the Bucs need a win. This is a must-win game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have to win it, and they've had nothing but trouble versus this LA Rams team. So let's see if they can exercise it. Not only this losing streak, but kind of what they did earlier on in the year versus the Saints. They were never able to beat the Saints. They beat the Saints in the regular season. Let's see if they can do it to the Rams.
You had a mini bye, so you should be as healthy and not healthy, as fresh as you're going to be. 10 days off to this game. There should be no issues about fatigue, conditioning, long grind. You basically had a mini bye week. You're probably, like I said, you were going to get probably in Winfield for sure. Probably Carlton Davis, hopefully Akeem Hicks back offensively. You got Leverett in there. I think you'll see more Leverett in there. We don't know what Gedicke's status is, but I think you'll see more Leverett. Will we see more Rashad White? Will we see a Tyler Johnson get reacclimated into the wide receiver room? I almost think they're almost done with Julio. Hate to say it. I just don't know if Julio can get on the field where Tyler Johnson, if you remember, he's caught some big balls from Brady.
Sure.
In his career. He's had some flashes where he's been a guy who can be a reliable number 3, number 4 receiver. You saw some glimpses out of Jalen Darden last week, a couple good returns. Maybe you get a good return in the kicking game. Because again, you got to find ways to generate field position and offense. And maybe it's the kicking game, returns. Maybe it's a run. Again, we've not seen trick plays. Run a trick play, run a fake punt, do something to get the spirit of the sideline going again.
Yeah, not run an end around to Julio Jones. And you may be right. And I've kind of talked about this and alluded to it over and over again. And talk is that OBJ will be ready by possibly December or mid-December.
But it might be too late. That may be too late.
Well, I tell you right now, if he's interested in coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buccaneers can somehow pull off some of these victories and get him right into this offense, I think it makes him that much better. And that's why I believe it will happen, because Julio Jones is not healthy. I'm not sure if he's going to be healthy for the full year. And on top of it, you need a guy that is more dependable than a Tyler Johnson. And what's the reason why you go after Julio Jones and a Gage in the first place? Because Tyler Johnson wasn't dependable enough. Right. So you're going back to that because of injury. I don't necessarily think that's the greatest thing to do, but at the end of the day, that's what you got to do because of the injury situation.
And again, with the trade deadline on Tuesday, are the Bucs active? Do they make a move? We're recording this before the end of the deadline, so we won't know. Obviously, when you're hearing this, we won't know if they've made a move or not. I could see the Bucs making a minor move, 3rd, 4th round draft pick kind of compensation. I don't think they're going to sell the farm for somebody unless, the couple names you're hearing, Bradley Chubb might be out there, some wide receiver, maybe a Chase Claypool. Maybe does a guy like that help you? Do you give him a 2nd round pick for a Chase Claypool to come in to be a 3rd receiver?
Absolutely.
To be the 3rd guy.
Why not? What about a Braden Cooks from the Texans? I mean, highly productive wide receiver for some reason.
Speed. He's a speedster, can still run.
Don't have that on this team besides Scotty Miller. So, and he's also familiar with Brady because he's played with Brady before. Yep. Highly productive wide receiver, gives you 1,000 yards every year, can take the top off the defense. Yep. If you have to give up a 2nd or a 3rd round pick,
I think you do that.
Do it.
I think they would do that. I think the Buccaneers would do that. Again, it'd be very interesting to see what happens. The Rams are being talked about to make some moves. Don't be surprised. Kareem Hunt's name's out there, maybe to the Rams.
Wow.
Potentially. Brandon Cooks has even been linked to the Rams as well. Maybe that tells you OBJ's not quite as close as we think he is, because OBJ talked with the Bucs, Rams, Packers potentially, but maybe OBJ's not as close as we think he is to being ready to go. All right, give me a score prediction.
2013 Tampa Bay.
Okay, I think the Bucs. I think with the freedom that Tom Brady is going to have mentally, it's over. We all know about it. It's public.
It's over,
I think that's gonna free him up a little bit to be a little looser, a little happier. I think the Bucs will come out and play well. I'm with you. I think 24-17, 27, 20, 21 kind of game. I think that's where you're going to see us going. Peter Blake, tell everybody where they can find all your great work.
Yeah, Mondays and Wednesday nights live on I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports on Facebook, or of course the Sports Web on YouTube. It's the evolution of sports talk television. We say three things, and I can go ahead and scream it loud because I'm in my new car.
Tell your girls to pipe down for just another couple minutes.
Hey, be quiet over there. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. There you go.
Great. Yeah, great work, Peter. Again, find our podcast, No Quarter Given, all the podcast platforms. You can find my Florida Football Insiders. We talk all things college football, state of Florida, as well as Powers on Sports podcast. We're going to have TJ Reeves on the Powers on Sports podcast this week, Buccaneers sideline reporter, talking about all things NFL. We're going to get into the Bucs a little bit for a little midseason report. So check that out. That'll be coming out probably Wednesday night. Florida Football Insiders will come out Thursday. YouTube channel, Jason Powers Sports channel. And Peter Blake, can we get off of this 5 out of 6 losing streak podcast streak?
Yes. Can they show up? Can they not be a ghost this time when it comes to Halloween? I mean, hopefully the Bucs costume isn't a ghost. Hopefully that defense isn't a ghost. We need to exorcise the demons, if you will, of the LA Rams. Let's do it on Sunday, my friend.
And I'll try to smuggle out a couple cookies and a Rice Krispie treat from the spread upstairs for you.
Yes, the Bananas Foster at halftime is
not a bananas guy, not for me.
No.
All right, we got to go. We're running out of time here.
All right,
Buck fans. We'll see you next time. Thanks for finding us. No Quarter Given podcast. Next week, we're going to Munich. Let's